Dying of thirst, the alien vampire girl never dreamed a human would offer his blood. The desert was silent. Only the hot wind moved, carrying dust across the empty land. A lone human traveler walked slowly, his steps heavy, his canteen was empty, his lips were dry. Each breath burned his throat like fire. For 3 days he had been searching for water, but the desert gave him nothing. The sun was merciless, and even at night the cold air cut into his bones. Still, he walked, refusing to give up. He was a man who had learned long ago that survival was not about strength, but about will. His boots sank into the sand as he pressed forward, his eyes scanning the endless horizon. No sign of water, no sign of life. Then, he heard it. At first, he thought it was only the wind. A faint sound, broken and weak, like a whisper carried across the dunes. He stopped walking and turned his head, his ears strained. There it was again, softer this time, but not the wind. It was a voice. The human frowned. He knew no one should be out here. Travelers avoided this wasteland because it was known as the Silent Expanse, a place where even machines failed and only death thrived. Still, he followed the sound. Step by step, he moved carefully, his hand near the knife at his belt. He climbed a ridge of sand, and when he reached the top, he froze. Below him, half buried in the sand, lay a figure. At first, he thought it was a child. The body was thin, trembling, arms wrapped around itself. But when the figure lifted its face, he stopped breathing. It was not human. Her skin was pale, almost glowing under the harsh sun, but cracked as if she hadn't touched water for weeks. Her eyes were large, glowing faintly, and her lips were split with thirst. Strands of dark hair clung to her face. She looked fragile, yet there was something unnatural about her presence, something that made the air feel heavy. The man hesitated, his instincts screamed at him to walk away. This was no ordinary traveler, but then he saw her try to move. She reached out with shaking hands, fingers clawing weakly at the sand. "Water," her voice cracked. "No, not water. Blood." The word struck him like a blade. Blood. His chest tightened. She was not just some lost alien. She was something else, something dangerous. The girl coughed, collapsing back into the sand. Her breathing was shallow, her chest rising and falling in painful rhythm. She looked like she was moments away from death. The human stood still, torn between fear and pity. He had fought to survive all his life, but never had he faced a choice like this. Help her, or leave her to die. As he moved closer, he noticed her teeth, sharp, long and glistening when her lips parted. His heart raced. Stories whispered in old colonies came to his mind, about vampire-like aliens who lived on blood instead of water. He never believed those tales, until now. She opened her eyes again, and for a brief moment, their gazes locked. Those glowing eyes held a mixture of hunger and despair. She tried to lift herself, but fell back, too weak to continue. "Stay away," she whispered. "If I drink, I may not stop." The man's throat was dry, his body weak, but he did not move back. He could not explain why, but something about her suffering cut into him. She was not a monster in this moment. She was a dying being, and he was the only one here. His hand tightened around his knife, not to strike, but to steady himself. He thought about his own thirst, about the endless search for water. He thought about how close he himself had come to collapsing just hours ago. Now, here was another soul, alien or not, facing the same cruel desert. He took a slow breath. Maybe it was madness, maybe it was mercy, but he stepped forward, kneeling down beside her. Her eyes widened faintly as his shadow fell across her. "You need blood," he said quietly. "Then maybe you'll have mine." The girl's lips trembled. A tear, small and shining, slipped down her cracked cheek. Before anything else could happen, the wind howled again, carrying the sound of shifting sand. The desert seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting to see what choice he would make. The man looked at the faint marks of fangs behind her lips, and for the first time in his life, he truly wondered, Was this the end of him or the beginning of something far greater? If you are enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more HFY sci-fi tales. Your support keeps these stories alive. The desert sun slipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon in shades of orange and red. The human traveler knelt beside the alien girl, his shadow stretching across her fragile form. Her breathing was shallow, each gasp sounding weaker than the last. He had seen death before, in war, in hunger, in drought. But this was different. This was not a human. This was something beyond his understanding. And yet, she looked so helpless. Her eyes flickered open again, faintly glowing in the fading light. Her gaze met his, and he felt something stir deep in his chest, a strange pull, like her eyes reached inside him and refused to let go. "Don't," she whispered, her voice trembling, cracked like broken glass. "Don't come closer. If I drink, I may not stop." The human's hand rested on the hilt of his knife, not in threat, but in hesitation. His throat ached with thirst, his own lips were cracked, his blood felt hot in his veins, the last life inside his body. And here was this alien girl begging for the very thing keeping him alive. He should turn away. He should walk back into the desert. She was not his responsibility. But his boots stayed planted in the sand. He studied her face, too pale, too fragile. She looked like a child of the stars, cursed by a hunger she could not control. He wondered how long she had been lying here, abandoned in the wasteland. Days? Weeks? Perhaps no one dared to help her. Perhaps everyone who tried had become her victim. The girl shifted weakly, her claws scratching at the ground. He saw her fangs glint faintly as her lips parted. "Blood," she croaked. "Just a drop, or I will die." The words were not a threat. They were a plea. The human's chest tightened. His instincts screamed, "Run!" His mind whispered, "She will kill you." But another thought rose, stronger. "If I walk away now, I will watch her die. And if I do that, I will not be human anymore." He moved his hand away from his knife. "Listen to me," he said softly, his voice steady, though his heart pounded. "I don't know who or what you are, but I know suffering when I see it, and I won't walk away." The girl's eyes widened slightly, glowing brighter for a moment. "You don't understand," she whispered. "My kind, we are cursed. Once we taste blood, it's like fire. We cannot stop until the body is empty. I will drain you dry." Her warning hung in the air, sharp and heavy. The desert wind howled around them, as if echoing her words. The human leaned closer, his face calm, but his pulse hammering in his neck. "Then you'll have to trust yourself," he said, "and I'll trust you." For a moment, silence fell. Her glowing eyes searched his face, as if looking for any sign of fear, of lies, of weakness. But all she saw was determination. The girl shuddered. Her body trembled as hunger clawed at her. She shook her head, weakly, desperately. "No, no one has ever offered freely. Humans fear us. Even my own people fear me." Her voice broke. A tear slid down her cheek, cutting through the dust on her skin. The human reached into his pack, pulling out a broken strip of cloth. He wrapped it around his wrist, slow and deliberate. His fingers gripped his knife, not to strike her, but to slice a small cut. But before he could, her hand shot out, weak, trembling, but fast enough to grip his arm. Her claws pressed lightly into his skin, not cutting, only holding. "Stop," she whispered. "You don't know what you're offering." He looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Then tell me." Her lips parted. For the first time, her words carried more than weakness. They carried fear. "My people hunt me," she admitted, "because I refused to kill. I starved instead. But if I drink from you, I don't know if I can hold back. I might lose myself. I might end you." The human stared into her glowing eyes. Then, slowly, he gave a faint smile. Maybe, he said quietly, but maybe you won't. Her grip tightened. Her fangs slid down fully now, sharp and gleaming. Her breath came faster. The hunger in her face grew darker, stronger. The human tilted his wrist toward her lips. The girl's eyes widened in shock. "No one has ever trusted me," she whispered. And then, before she could resist herself, her mouth pressed to his skin. Her fangs pierced gently, and fire spread through both their bodies. He gasped at the sting, his vision flashing white for a second. She groaned, trembling as his blood touched her tongue. It was unlike anything she had ever tasted. Hot, rich, alive. Power surged through her veins. Her eyes glowed brighter, and her frail body shook with sudden strength. The desert wind screamed around them, kicking up sand in swirling circles. The girl clutched his arm tighter. His blood flowed into her, and her heart pounded with new life. The human's head grew light, his throat drier than ever. But he did not pull back. He gritted his teeth, forcing himself to stay still. Seconds stretched into eternity. Finally, she tore her mouth away, gasping, her chest heaving. She stared at him, wide-eyed, horrified at herself. "I stopped," she whispered in disbelief. "I actually stopped." The human swayed slightly but stayed on his feet. "You see," he said weakly, giving a tired smile. "You can control it." The girl shook her head, trembling. "No, it's not just control. Your blood. It's different. It's powerful. Stronger than anything I've ever tasted. They will come for you. They will never let me keep you." The desert fell silent again, the air heavy with the weight of her words. And for the first time, the human realized this was no simple act of kindness. This was the beginning of something far more dangerous. The desert night had fallen, wrapping the world in a dark, silent shroud. The wind was colder now, but the man felt warmth draining from his body. His arm throbbed where her fangs had pierced, and his head spun faintly. The alien girl sat before him, trembling, her hands pressed to her lips, as if she could not believe what she had done. Her eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, bright against her pale skin. She had stopped drinking, but only just. "You're insane," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Do you even know what you have done?" The human gave a weak chuckle, though it was cut short by his dry throat. "Saved your life, maybe." She shook her head violently, her dark hair falling across her face. "No, you don't understand. My kind. Once we taste blood, we don't stop. Not unless the host dies. And yet, with you, I stopped." Her eyes narrowed, sharp with both fear and awe. "That should not be possible." The man leaned back against a rock, his body heavy with exhaustion. "Then maybe I'm not like the others you've known." The girl's glowing eyes fixed on him. "You don't realize what this means. Your blood, it is not just food, it is power. Even a small taste burned through me like fire. It gave me strength I should not have. If my people find out—" Her voice trailed off, heavy with dread. The human swallowed, his lips cracked as he spoke. "They'll come after me, won't they?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, they will hunt you. They will want you for themselves, or kill you so no one else can have you." The desert fell silent again. Only the whisper of the wind filled the space between them. Finally, the human broke the silence. "Then maybe we shouldn't let them find us." The girl blinked, confused. "What are you saying?" He straightened, though his body ached. His eyes, weary but firm, locked with hers. "I'm saying I'll help you," he said simply. "If blood is what keeps you alive, then I'll give you mine. Not enough to kill me, but enough to keep you from dying." The girl's mouth parted in shock. Her clawed hands trembled against the sand. "You would offer yourself?" Again? Willingly? He nodded once. Yes. Her eyes burned brighter, disbelief etched across her face. Why? Why would a human do such a thing? My people see yours as prey. We feed on you, we enslave you. To them, you are less than animals, and yet, you offer your life to me? The man's jaw tightened. He thought of the long days he had spent alone in this wasteland. He thought of the endless struggle for survival, the cruelty of the world. Because I know what it means to suffer, he said quietly. I know what it means to be left behind, and because... His voice faltered, but he forced the words out. Because if I turn my back on someone in need, then what kind of man am I? Her lips trembled. For a moment, the hunger in her gaze softened into something else, something almost human. You are a fool, she whispered, a fool braver than any I have ever met. The human gave a tired smile. Maybe, but if my blood can save you, then take it. Just promise me you'll stop when I tell you. The girl lowered her head, her glowing eyes hidden by her hair. Her voice came out low and uncertain. I will try, but I cannot promise what I do not know. I am dangerous. The human's voice was steady. Then we'll find out together. The girl lifted her gaze again, and for the first time since he had found her, her expression carried more than desperation. There was wonder there, and fear. She slowly. I reached out, her clawed hand brushing his wrist. The contact was gentle, almost hesitant. Her lips parted, and her fangs gleamed faintly in the moonlight. But instead of biting, she whispered, No one has ever trusted me before, not even my own blood. If I accept this, I accept more than your life. I accept a bond. The man tilted his head. A bond? She nodded faintly. Among my kind, to drink and stop before death, it creates a link, a thread between us. I can feel your heartbeat, your fear, your will, and you may feel mine. The human's chest tightened. He had expected danger, but not this. A connection? A tie that went beyond flesh and blood? Then it's done already, he said softly. The girl stared at him, eyes wide with shock. She pulled her hand back as if burned. No, you don't understand what you are saying. This bond, it cannot be undone. It marks you. If others of my kind sense it, they will know. They will come. He looked out at the endless desert where the moonlight painted the dunes in silver. Let them, he said calmly. I've been hunted before. I survived. Her breath caught in her throat. You are not afraid? Of dying? He shook his head slowly. Of dying alone, maybe, but not of dying with purpose. The girl's claws dug into the sand, her body trembling. She wanted to refuse, to push him away before he doomed himself further. But the hunger inside her whispered louder than reason. She was still weak. She still needed him. And more than that, something about this human unsettled her. Something about his courage and his calmness felt different. He was not prey. He was not weak. He was something her people had never seen before. The human lifted his wrist again, closer to her lips. His voice was calm, almost steady. Drink, not too much. Just enough to keep you standing. Then we'll face whatever comes. Together. Her glowing eyes locked. Ket onto his pulse. She trembled, torn between hunger and fear. Finally, with a shuddering breath, she leaned forward. Her fangs grazed his skin, and she froze, hesitating, resisting. But the hunger was too strong. With a desperate cry, she bit down. The fire returned, rushing through her veins, filling her with life and strength. She gasped against his skin, clutching his arm as if afraid to let go. The human gritted his teeth, his vision flashing. His knees weakened, but he stayed firm. And then, something strange happened. As his blood flowed into her, a pulse of energy passed between them, like lightning under the skin. The girl's eyes widened, glowing brighter than before. She tore her mouth away, gasping, her body trembling with shock. "What was that?" she whispered. "Your blood. It is not just powerful. It is alive. It carries something I have never felt before." The human steadied himself against the rock. "Alive? What do you mean?" The girl shook her head, her face pale but her eyes wild with awe. "Your blood is not just human. It sings. It burns. If my people discover this, they will kill to claim it. They will never stop hunting us." The desert wind rose, sharp and cold, swirling around them. The dunes groaned as if the earth itself felt the weight of her words. The human exhaled slowly. His voice was quiet, but steady. "Then let them come." The girl stared at him, eyes wide, heart pounding. She had never felt fear like this, and never felt hope like this either. For the first time in her cursed life, she whispered words she had never spoken before. "Perhaps I don't have to run alone anymore." The night deepened, stretching across the wasteland like a great black sea. Stars shimmered faintly above, cold and distant, while the moon cast pale silver across the endless dunes. In that vast emptiness, only two figures sat together, a dying human traveler and an alien vampire girl reborn with his blood. The girl sat trembling, her glowing eyes wide, her lips still stained with red. She had drunk enough to stand, enough to breathe, Shiratan enough to feel her strength return. Yet she could not shake the sensation that something impossible had just taken root inside her. She clutched her chest, her claws pressing lightly against her skin. "It's inside me," she whispered, voice unsteady. "Your blood. It's not just life. It's binding me." The man leaned against the rock, exhausted but steady. His skin was pale, but his eyes were sharp, watching her with the same quiet calm he had shown since the beginning. "You said there's a bond," he murmured. "Now you feel it." The girl looked up at him, panic flickering in her glowing gaze. "Yes, it's stronger than I feared. I can feel your heartbeat inside me. I can hear your thoughts, not words, but echoes, fear, determination, pain." Her hands trembled. "I shouldn't feel this. Our kind bonds only with our own, never with humans. This is wrong." The man gave a faint, tired smile. "Wrong or not, it's real." The girl turned away, staring out into the desert. The silence pressed down heavy, broken only by the sighing wind. But under that silence, she felt it, the steady beat of his heart, now tied to hers. It scared her, it confused her, and deep inside, it gave her a warmth she had never known. She had lived her life as an outcast, a hunted creature, cursed by her hunger. Trust was a word that had no meaning in her world, but here was a human, a being she should have seen only as prey, offering his life without hesitation. Why? Her claws dug into the sand, frustration burning inside her. "Do you not fear me?" she demanded suddenly, spinning to face him. "I am death to your kind, a predator. I could drain you in moments." The man's gaze did not waver. "I've lived with fear my whole life. It doesn't matter anymore. What matters is choice. You chose not to kill me, and I chose to trust you." His calmness unnerved her more than any blade could. She saw no trembling, no cowardice, only quiet resolve. The girl's lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she lowered her head, her hair hiding her face. A strange ache spread in her chest, a feeling she could not name. Then, the bond pulsed. The human stiffened. The girl's head snapped up, her eyes glowing brighter. Something was wrong. Through the connection, she felt it, distant footsteps against the sand. Not one, but many. The rhythm was sharp, organized. "They're coming," she breathed. The man pushed himself upright, swaying slightly but standing tall. "Your people?" She nodded slowly, dread in her voice. Hunters. They must have sensed me. And now, because of the bond, they will sense you too. The man's hand went to the strange alien blade he had taken earlier from a ruined scavenger site. Until now, it had been dull, lifeless. But as he gripped it, the blade hummed faintly, glowing faint blue. The girl's eyes widened. That weapon? It should not answer to you. Only my kind can awaken it. The man looked at the glowing blade, then back at her. Maybe your kind is wrong. The girl shuddered. The bond pulsed again, sharper now, carrying not only footsteps, but voices, harsh, commanding, filled with hunger and cruelty. They were closing in. She turned to him, her face pale despite the glow in her eyes. You must leave me. Run while you can. If they find us together, they'll kill you slowly, just to punish me. The man shook his head. No. If I leave, you die. And if I stay, at least we fight. Her claws clenched. You don't understand. They are stronger, faster, ruthless. You cannot fight them. His jaw tightened. Then we'll see. The girl's throat ached with desperation. She wanted to scream at him to go, to save himself, but the bond between them twisted tighter, carrying his emotions into her heart. She felt his iron resolve, his unwillingness to abandon her, and it broke something inside her, something she had buried long ago. No one had ever stayed, not once. The hunters' shadows appeared on the distant ridge, dark figures with glowing eyes and long, cruel weapons. The moonlight gleamed off their armor. They were coming fast, sand spraying beneath their feet. The girl rose to her full height, her body trembling, but her strength returning. Her fangs glinted as she hissed low. If you fight beside me, there will be no turning back. You will be marked as mine, hunted forever. The human lifted the glowing blade. Then, let them hunt. The girl's chest rose and fell, her lips trembling as she stared at him. Something burned in her throat, not hunger, but something far more dangerous. She whispered, almost too soft to hear. Then together, we stand. The hunters' voices carried through the night now, cruel laughter echoing across the dunes. The girl stepped forward, claws ready, eyes blazing. The human stood beside her, bloodied but unbroken, the alien blade glowing in his hands. And as the hunters closed in, the bond between them pulsed again, stronger than ever. A heartbeat shared, a fate sealed. The desert itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the clash to come. The desert wind grew sharp, whistling like a blade through the dunes. The human stood with the alien girl, the glowing blade in his hands, and her claws stretched, ready to strike. On the far ridge, shadows gathered, 7 figures, tall and armored, with eyes burning like coals in the night. Their laughter carried across the dunes, cruel and mocking. The girl's chest tightened. She knew these hunters. She had seen their kind before, the enforcers of her people, those who tracked down outcasts like her. Their armor was etched with the mark of her clan, and now they had come, not only for her, but for the human who carried her blood inside him. They found us, she whispered, her voice laced with dread. They will not stop until we're both dead. The human didn't flinch. His grip tightened. Yet on the blade, the faint glow reflecting in his tired eyes. Then let's make sure they regret coming. The girl looked at him, startled by his calmness. No human should stand like this, not before hunters, not against her people. And yet here he was, bloodied, weakened, but unshaken. The hunters descended the ridge, moving in perfect formation. Sand kicked up under their boots, weapons gleaming in the moonlight. One, taller than the rest, stepped forward. His voice was a hiss that crawled across the dunes. Traitor! He snarled at the girl. You dared to starve instead of kill. You disgraced our kind, and now you've bonded with prey. The girl bared her fangs, her eyes glowing bright. Better prey than monsters like you. The leader's gaze shifted to the human, narrowing. And you, human, you don't understand what flows in your veins now. Her hunger has tainted you, but your blood, we can smell it. Rich, alive, it will make us gods. His words rolled like thunder. The hunter's laughter followed, sharp and cruel. The human's jaw tightened. If you want it, he said quietly, you'll have to take it. The hunters didn't wait. They lunged forward, weapons raised. The sand shook under their charge. The girl snarled, her claws slicing the air as she leapt into motion. The human steadied himself, raising the glowing blade. For a heartbeat, the world slowed. The bond between them pulsed, her rage and his resolve flowing together. Then the clash came. The first hunter swung a blade toward the human, sharp and curved like bone. The man raised his weapon, expecting to be crushed, but the alien sword in his hand sang, meeting the strike with a flash of light. Sparks burst, and the hunter stumbled back, his eyes wide in shock. The girl didn't give him a chance to recover. She darted forward, faster than a blur, her claws raking across the hunter's armor. Sparks and blood flew as he fell into the sand, screaming. Another hunter struck from behind, his spear aimed at the human's back, but the bond pulsed, warning the girl before the blow landed. She screamed a warning, and the man twisted, raising his blade just in time. The spear glanced off, but the impact jolted his arms, nearly knocking him down. The girl slammed into the attacker, tearing him off balance. The human stumbled, gasping, but held firm. His arm shook, his blood still weak from what she had taken. But the blade hummed in his grip, as if it knew his will and answered it. Two more hunters circled, moving in fast. The human crouched low, watching their movements, heart pounding. His instincts screamed to run, but the bond carried more than fear. It carried her ferocity, her predator's instincts. And for the first time, he fought like her. He surged forward, blade flashing. One hunter raised his weapon, too slow. The glowing sword cut through the alien steel like fire through paper. The hunter cried out as his arm fell to the sand, blood spraying hot across the night. The other tried to strike him down, but the girl was already there, leaping high, slamming into the hunter with claws and fangs. Her scream echoed, wild and feral, as she tore him down. The sand turned dark with blood. The hunters hesitated for the first time, their cruel laughter gone. The leader stepped forward, his eyes burning brighter. "So it's true," he hissed. "The bond has made you stronger. Human blood mixed with her curse. This changes everything." The human stood panting, blade trembling in his grip, but still glowing bright. Sweat dripped down his face. His heart raced, but his eyes never wavered. The girl stepped beside him, claws dripping, her chest heaving. Her glowing eyes locked with the leader's. "Leave," she growled, "or the desert will drink your blood tonight." The leader only laughed, a sound sharp as glass. "You think two can stand against us all? Foolish child, foolish human." He raised his hand. From the dunes more shadows appeared. Reinforcements, at least a dozen more, their armor gleaming under the moon. The girl's heart sank. She had known the hunters would come, but not this many. She glanced at the man, ready to tell him to run. But the bond carried his thoughts into her, calm, firm, unyielding. No running, not anymore. Her throat tightened. For the first time in her cursed life, she was not facing death alone. The leader sneered, lowering his hand. "Kill them both. Leave nothing." The hunters roared and charged as one. The girl roared back, her claws shining under the moon. The human lifted his blade, its glow now burning brighter than ever. And as the two braced for the onslaught, the bond pulsed harder, faster, fusing their wills together. For a heartbeat their eyes met, her hunger, his resolve, one heartbeat shared. And then the battle exploded. The hunters crashed over the dunes like a black tide. The sand shook under their boots. Their armor flashed. Their eyes burned like coals. The alien girl and the human stood shoulder to shoulder, the bond between them beating like a second heart. "Stay close," she said, voice low and tight. "I'm not leaving," he answered. The first wave hit. A spear flashed at the human's throat. He raised the glowing blade and turned the strike aside. Sparks burst in the night. He stepped in, fast and simple. One cut. The spear split. The hunter hissed and fell back. The girl moved like lightning. She slid through their line, claws cutting, feet light on the sand. She did not kill for pleasure. She struck to stop, to protect. She had starved to avoid bloodshed for so long that even now, even hunted, she held herself on a sharp edge of control. But there were too many. 3 hunters boxed the human in. Their movements were clean, practiced, cruel. One feinted high, another swept low, the third drove straight through to his heart. The bond pulsed, warning. The girl was there in a blink. She caught the low strike on her forearm and bared her fangs at the one who lunged. He hesitated for a breath, only a breath. But it was enough. The human slid under the high cut and ripped the glowing blade across the attacker's wrist. Armor parted, steel rang. The hunter dropped his weapon and fell to his knees, clutching the wound. The leader watched from the ridge, eyes sharp. He lifted his hand. The second wave started forward, then stopped. The leader smiled like a wolf. "Test the human," he said to the hunter beside him. "Make him show us what his blood can do." From the dunes to the right, a new group stepped out. Different armor, different sigils. They did not belong to the leader's clan. Their armor was older, worn, the metal showing scars from long wars. The girl stiffened. "Ancients," she whispered. "Old hunters, exiles who hunt for hire." "Enemies?" the human asked. "They serve coin and blood, not law." The ancients moved with slow precision, forming a half circle. They did not rush. Their faces were calm. One carried a staff tipped with a dark crystal. He planted it in the sand. A low hum rolled out, like a buried drum. The human's blade answered with a higher hum, bright and alive. The crystal's sound pressed down like a hand on his chest. The blade's song pushed back. The staff-bearer tilted his head, curious, testing. The girl took one step forward. "Leave," she said, voice carrying. "This is my fight." The staff-bearer's voice was soft. "No. This is ours now." The leader laughed from the ridge. "Good. Trap her between fangs." The circle tightened. The human felt the ground through his boots, the hum traveling under the sand. He didn't understand it, not fully, but the bond helped him sense where each step would land, where each strike would fall. The girl sensed it too. She breathed with him, moved with him. When the staff thrust down, the sand rippled. The dunes collapsed inward, dragging their feet. Hunters lunged for the opening. The girl grabbed the hum's wrist. "Jump with me." They leapt together, clearing the sinking patch as the sand swallowed a dead hunter's body whole. The bond kicked, one heartbeat, 2 bodies, 1 motion. They landed on firm ground as the circle snapped shut again. The staff hummed louder. The blade flared hotter. "Your blood sings," the staff-bearer said to the human, eyes bright with interest. "I have not heard that song in 100 years. "What does it mean?" the human asked, breathing hard. The staff-bearer's mouth curved. "It means you are not prey." The leader hissed. "Stop speaking to him. Break him. Take him." The ancients did not move. For the first time, the girl's fear shifted into something else. Confusion. "Why wait?" she asked. The staff-bearer looked at her. "Because the song is rare. Because long ago, before your clan taught fear, there was a pact between our kind and a few unusual humans. We called them conductors." The human's grip tightened on the blade. "Conductors." The staff-bearer tapped the crystal lightly. those who could carry power through blood, those who could wake our weapons and steady our hunger. They were legend even then. The leader spat on the sand. Old stories, lies. The staff-bearer did not look at him. He kept his eyes on the human and the girl. You made a bond and did not end in death. Your blade sings. Your presence calms her hunger in battle. Conductor. The girl stared at the human, eyes wide. That is why I could stop. That is why the blade woke for you. The leader snarled. This changes nothing. He belongs to us. He raised his arm. The third wave, his personal guard, charged. He came with them, fast and furious. The ancients did not join. They stepped back, leaving a clear path, as if they wished to watch how this would end. The girl moved first. She slid to the leader's flank, claws reaching for the gaps in his armor. He turned with inhuman speed, caught her wrist, and twisted. Pain shot up her arm. She bit back a scream, pivoted, and used the twist to drive her knee into his chest. He staggered one step, only one. He was strong, stronger than the others. He had fed recently. Two guards hammered the human at once. He caught one strike, turned the blade, and let the second pass, the tip shaving a line across his ribs. Fire flared along the cut. He grunted, stepped into the first guard's space, and slammed the hilt into the alien's chin. Bone cracked. The guard fell like a sack. The second guard aimed at his heart. The bond pulsed, urgent. The girl tore free from the leader and shoved the human sideways. The spear shot past, missing his heart by inches and ripping his shoulder instead. He fell hard into the sand. The glow of the blade dimmed, then surged again as his hand tightened. The leader's shadow fell over him. The leader raised his curved sword for the finishing strike. Mine, the leader growled. The human rolled. The leader's blade slammed into the sand. The human came up on one knee and drove the glowing weapon forward. It met the leader's chest plate and sang so loud it rang the dunes. The armor cracked. A web of blue light shot through the metal. The leader leaped back, shocked. He looked down at the split across his chest where no human weapon had ever marked him. His eyes lifted slowly, full of hate and a hint of fear. Conductor, he hissed, I will wear your heart. From the shadows behind the ancients, a new voice spoke, calm, female, tired. No, you won't. A figure stepped into the moonlight. She wore no clan mark. Her armor was mismatched, worn from long travel, black scarf wrapped around her face. When she pulled the scarf down, the girl sucked in a breath. Rylith? The girl whispered. You're alive? The newcomer's eyes softened for a heartbeat. Barely. The leader's eyes narrowed. Rylith the Oathbreaker, he said. Another traitor. Rylith ignored him. She looked at the human, at the cut on his shoulder, at the bright blade in his hand, at the way he stood between danger and the girl. Then she looked at the staff-bearer and gave a slow nod. Conductor, Rylith said. Good. We will need one. She turned to the girl. You starved rather than kill. That is why they hunt you. That is why I left them. I couldn't watch our people drown in blood anymore. The leader laughed. Pretty speech. You left because you were weak. Rylith's gaze slid to him, cold as the far side of the moon. I left because I am done obeying cowards. The ancients finally moved, not to attack, but to place themselves between the leader's guards and Rylith. The staff-bearer's voice was clear. We are no longer for hire tonight. The leader's jaw flexed. You would break contract? We were contracted to kill a monster, the staff-bearer said evenly. I see none here, only a child who refuses to kill and a human who refuses to run. The leader lifted his hand, shaking with rage. Then die with them, he charged. Rylith moved like a falling star. She met the leader head-on. Their blades crashed. The sound rolled over the dunes. The leader fought with brute force. Rylith fought with clean lines like a dance learned in hard years. She turned his power aside again and again, but each clash pushed her back a step. The girl whirled into the guards, a storm of claws, keeping them off the human. She felt the bond throb, pain in his shoulder, heat in his blood, weariness in his bones. She sent back what strength she could. "I am here. We are not done." He answered without words. "Stand with me." He rose, steadying the glowing blade with both hands. The staff-bearer flanked him, crystal humming, as it met a guard strike and bent it away like wind pushing a leaf. The ancients fought with restraint, disarming, disabling, never killing unless forced. Still, the tide was heavy. The leader's guard were many, the desert rang with steel, the sand drank sweat and blood, the moon watched without mercy. Rylith slipped, only a little. Only enough. The leader saw it. He drove in, blade aimed at her throat. The girl screamed, and launched herself forward, but she was too far. The human was closer. He didn't think. He moved. The glowing blade caught the leader's strike an inch from Rylith's neck. The impact sounded like a bell breaking. The leader's eyes flared. He pushed. The human's arm shook. His wounded shoulder burned. The blade sang higher, brighter, until the song hurt his teeth. "Fall!" the leader snarled. "Not today," the human said softly. The bond exploded. It was not sight, not sound. It was a shared surge, a flood of will. The girl sent everything: rage, hunger, hope, fear. Rylith added weight, old skill, stubborn strength. The staff-bearer fed the hum of the earth itself. All of it ran through the human, like a river through a narrow gate. The glowing blade blazed white. The leader's sword cracked down the middle. Silence fell in shock. Even the wind paused. The leader stared at the broken edge in his hand. Disbelief, then pure hate. He leaped back, eyes wild. "Enough! Bring the sky down!" 3 of his remaining guards raised compact launchers and fired into the air. The shells burst high above, and from the darkness came a new sound, heavy rotors or engines, deep and angry. A ship, no, more than a ship, a collector, the kind used to net entire packs of prey. The girl's heart slammed once, hard. "They called a collector. It will throw fields. We'll be pinned." Rylith grabbed the human's elbow. "We move, now!" The staff-bearer planted his crystal deep and sang a low note that turned the sand to glass in a ring around them. "The first field will not anchor to glass. You have 30 heartbeats." 30 is enough, the human said. He wasn't sure it was true, but the bond steadied him. The girl's eyes met his. No fear now, only fire. "Together," she said. They ran, Rylith leading, the girl and the human in the center, the ancients forming a shield. The leader bellowed, orders and followed, his guards pouring across the dunes. The collector roared above, a dark shape blotting out stars. Blue nets of force began to fall, slow and deadly, like curtains of light. "Left!" Rylith shouted. They cut left. A net slammed down where they had been, sizzling against the glass ring and failing to stick. 20 heartbeats! The staff-bearer called. The girl glanced back. The leader hurdled the glass and came on with murder in his eyes. He did not fear the nets. He thought he would catch them before the sky could. 15, the staff-bearer warned. A ridge loomed ahead. Rock, not sand. Rylith pointed. "Cave slit in that ridge. Narrow throat. Nets won't fit." 10. They sprinted. The human's breath tore in his chest. The cut on his shoulder burned with each step. The girl felt his pain and pushed her strength through the bond, giving him what she could. 9. 8. The leader closed the gap, too fast. He would reach them at the mouth of the ridge. 7. The collector's largest net opened above, wide as a storm. 6. Rylith reached the slit first and spun to cover, blades crossing. The ancients formed a wedge. The staff-bearer wrenched his crystal from the glass and slammed it down at the ridge mouth. The hum climbed into a scream. 5. The leader launched himself at the human. 4. The girl moved to intercept. but the human stepped in front of her. 3. He raised the glowing blade. It did not glow now. It blazed. 2. The leader's strike met the blaze. 1. The net fell. The world went white. The desert vanished into white. The net crashed down like a curtain of fire, burning the air, shaking the dunes. The human's glowing blade screamed against it, sparks tearing the night apart. His arm shook under the weight, his shoulder bled. The girl felt his pain through the bond like a knife in her own chest. "Hold!" Rylith shouted. Her voice cut through the roar of the net, steady, commanding. The staff-bearer slammed his crystal into the ground. The hum climbed higher, clashing with the net's energy. For a heartbeat, the two forces pressed against each other, snarling like beasts. The ridge itself trembled. Then, crack. A hole split in the net, jagged and unstable. Rylith shoved the girl first, then the human. "Go! Through!" The girl pulled the man's arm, forcing him forward. He staggered, his breath ragged, but the blade in his hand flared white and cut a wider gap. Together, they stumbled through into the dark throat of the ridge. The ancients followed, slipping through before the net collapsed again, sealing the desert behind them in shimmering blue. Outside, the leader's howl echoed, rage shaking the air. Inside, the cave swallowed them whole. The tunnel was narrow, jagged, carved by ancient waters. Their steps echoed on stone. The girl's glowing eyes lit the way, faint but steady. The human leaned against the wall, pale with blood loss, but he refused to stop moving. The bond pulsed, faint but alive. Each throb of his heart carried through her, too slow, too weak. "You're dying," she whispered. He shook his head, even as his knees nearly buckled. "Not yet." She clenched her fists, torn between hunger and horror. Her throat burned. She could taste his blood still, feel it singing in her veins. She could save him if she drank deeper. But if she lost control, if she drained him dry, the bond would end in death. She bit her lip, claws trembling. "Let me heal you." His eyes flicked to hers. He understood. "No, you already took enough." "If I take more, I can give strength back," she said, voice desperate. "It flows both ways now. The bond allows it." Rylith's voice cut in, sharp. "He's right to refuse. The bond is unstable. If you take too much, you'll unmake him." The girl whirled. "And if I don't, he will bleed out before dawn." The tunnel grew quiet, the sound of pursuit muffled by the net outside. Only the hum of the staff-bearer's crystal filled the silence. The human raised his blade, weak but still glowing. "We don't have time to argue. They'll come through eventually." The staff-bearer nodded. "They will. And when they do, you will have to choose." The girl's claws dug into the stone wall. Choose? The staff-bearer's gaze was calm, heavy. "Whether to run and save yourselves, or to stand and face them here. One choice may save your lives, the other may save many more." Rylith's eyes hardened. "If the leader takes him, the clans will know about conductors. They will hunt humans across the stars. They will turn your kind into cattle." The girl froze, heart pounding. She looked at the human, pale and bleeding, standing anyway. His blood had already changed her life. If the hunters learned of him, they would enslave his whole species. She stepped closer, voice shaking. "If we fight, you may die." He met her eyes, steady even through pain. "If we don't fight, we all lose." The bond pulsed harder, carrying not just his words, but his will, his courage, his choice. The girl's breath caught. For so long she had carried shame and fear. She had starved rather than kill. She had run rather than fight. But now, she was not alone. She took his bleeding hand in hers, claws careful. "Then together," she whispered. The staff-bearer lifted his crystal. Rylith readied her twin blades. The girl bared her fangs, her eyes blazing bright. And in the darkness of the cave, the human raised his glowing sword high. The hunters broke through the ridge mouth like a flood. The leader at their head, his eyes burning, his cracked armor gleaming, his voice roared through the stone. "Bring me the conductor!" The fight that followed was not battle. It was storm. The girl moved with fury, claws slicing the narrow space, every strike precise. The human fought with the blade blazing brighter than ever, each step guided by the bond. The ancients fought with grim discipline, turning every strike aside, breaking weapons, shattering armor. Rylith danced like fire, her twin blades wheeze, aving a deadly song. The leader drove straight for the human. The girl threw herself into his path, their claws meeting in a clash that split the stone floor. His strength was greater. He shoved her back, slammed her into the wall, but the bond pulsed again. The human was already there, blade intercepting the killing strike. Sparks and light filled the cave. The leader snarled, fangs bared. "You are nothing, just blood in a fragile shell." The human's voice came quiet but steady. "Then why are you afraid of me?" The bond surged. The girl lent him her strength. The blade burned white hot. With a cry, he drove the strike forward. The leader's sword shattered, his chest split with light. His roar shook the cave. Then silence. The leader fell, his body collapsing into the dust. The surviving hunters froze, staring. Their eyes flicked to the broken body, then to the human standing, bloodied but unbroken, the blade blazing in his grip. For the first time, they did not laugh. They stepped back, fear in their eyes. The staff-bearer's voice rang clear. "The conductor stands, the bond holds, the clans have no claim here." The hunters hesitated. Then, slowly, one by one, they turned and fled into the desert night. Silence fell again. The human swayed, his knees giving. The girl caught him before he fell, her claws gentle on his shoulders. She pressed her forehead to his, glowing eyes soft. "You should have died," she whispered. "Maybe," he said weakly, smiling faintly. "But then, so should you." She let out a shaky laugh, half sob, half relief. "Fool." He chuckled, breathless. "Takes one to know one." The bond pulsed again, stronger than before, steady now. No longer just hunger and survival. Something deeper. The girl held him tight, whispering into the silence. "You gave me your blood. But more than that, you gave me a reason to fight. Whatever comes next, I'll never leave you." His eyes closed, exhaustion pulling him under, but his voice was clear enough. "Good, because I'm not leaving either." The cave echoed with quiet, steady heartbeats. 2 hearts, 1 bond. The desert outside lay silent, but the stars above seemed to burn brighter, as if watching the birth of something new. Not just survival, not just a bond, but the beginning of a legend.